I call this meeting to order. Please all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will take roll call physically. Please stay here when your name is called. Member Anderson? Here. Member Benneker?
Here.
Member Ferris?
Here.
Member Hemmer? Here. Member Langer?
Here.
Member Miller?
Here.
Member Schubert is here. Member Wood? Here. And Member Evers is excused absent. We were properly noticed for this evening's meeting as provided for under section 19.851A and 19.851B of the Wisconsin State Statutes. The purpose of this meeting is that of an open hearing requested by a district employee, Jeremy R. Miller. At Tolis Law, SC was retained to advise the school board of the Arrowhead Union High School District regarding the procedures and process utilized for considering the district administration's recommendation of termination of Mr. Miller from employment with the Arrowhead Union High School District. I will turn the meeting over at this time to our attorney, Chrissy Hennell.
Good evening, everyone. The board is going to remain in open session to conduct the meeting this evening as requested by Mr. Miller. The board will be deliberating in executive session following the presentation, and then the board will be convening back into open session to take a vote and announce its decision. For purposes of the meeting this evening, I do know that we had the board members do a roll call, but I'd like everyone to introduce themselves as far as the board, administration, and then the employee and representation. As President Schubert said, my name is Chrissy Hamill. I'm an attorney with the Tolis Law. I'll go around the board table.
I'm Kim Schubert. I represent the Swallow seat on the board.
Ann Angeli, actually the at-large seat.
Amy Hemmer, Merton seat.
Tim Langer, Stonebank seat.
Lindsay Wood, the North Lake seat.
I'm Christopher Ferris, the at-large seat.
Daryl Benneker, Lake Country seat.
Brandon Miller, Richmond.
Conrad Farner, superintendent.
Jeremy Miller.
I'm Ben Hitchcock Cross. I represent Mr. Miller.
Laurie O'Sullivan. I'm just assisting Mr. Miller. I'm his brother-in-law.
Can you say your name again?
Laurie O'Sullivan.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I understand that there's a number of people here who would like to speak on this issue. I also understand that there was a young man who tried to speak earlier today, was told he could not speak during that time. He had to wait to speak till now. It's my preference, seeing that we have all of these people who have come here today, to allow them to speak first. I don't know if there's any reason why that can't happen, but I think out of courtesy to them, that would be the appropriate thing to do.
The board has not reserved time during this special meeting for public comment, and therefore there will be no public comment on the matter.
Well, it sounds like you told I'm sorry, what was his last name?
Superintendent Farner.
No, the young man who came here.
Oh, Jeffrey Fannerstill.
Jeffrey Fannerstill. So I understand that you told him, because he came here earlier today to testify, that he could not talk on this subject at that time. So when are you going to allow people to talk say their piece on how they feel about the potential termination of Coach Miller here?
I did not tell anybody that they couldn't speak at the prior meeting. I was not in attendance at the prior meeting. I was standing out in the lobby during the prior meeting, so I made no such comment. This is a special meeting that has been noticed by the Board of Education. The board has the ability to set forth the manner in which it will conduct this meeting, and the board has elected not to provide an opportunity for public comment during this meeting.
Why? What are they afraid of?
Right.
They want our money.
We are going to proceed with the meeting this evening. We are here for an evidentiary meeting concerning administration's recommendation that Mr. Miller's employment with the district be terminated. It's my understanding that on June 14th of 2024, Mr. Miller was issued a notice that the board would hold a meeting to consider the recommendation of administration that his employment be terminated. On July 3rd of 2024, I did send a notice to Mr. Miller on behalf of the Board of Education as legal counsel for the board regarding this matter, notifying Mr. Miller that a meeting would take place this evening at approximately 8 p.m. for the purpose of conducting an evidentiary meeting to consider administration's termination recommendation. This meeting will be administration's opportunity to present evidence and information in support of its recommendation for termination. As well, this meeting is an opportunity for Mr. Miller to be heard, for Mr. Miller to present any evidence and information that he wishes for the board to consider regarding this matter. It is my understanding that we do have someone present who will be taking minutes. Is that correct? Could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Kate McGraw, and I am the superintendent's assistant and the school board clerk.
Thank you, Ms. McGraw.
Is she a district employee? Just to be clear, you're having a district employee take the record for this minutes here?
She's going to be keeping the minutes in support of the board, yes.
Okay.
I also maintain notes and minutes of the proceeding as well. And I see Attorney Hitchcock-Cross that you are recording, so for purposes of having documentation of this meeting, I think we will have sufficient documentation. As I mentioned, both administration and Mr. Miller are going to be given the opportunity to present evidence in this matter. The board members will have an opportunity to ask both administration and Mr. Miller questions after each party has the opportunity to present evidence. So you as board members will have that opportunity to ask questions. The board is not going to entertain witnesses being called by either party or allow for cross-examination. Rather, the board will hear only from administration and from Mr. Miller and his representatives. Administration does bear the burden of establishing that the facts support administration's recommendation for termination. With that being said, I am going to now ask if there are any questions from administration before we get started.
No.
Any questions, Attorney Hitchcock-Cross, Mr. Miller, or Mr. O'Sullivan?
Oh, absolutely. So, and thank you for that opportunity here. So as I understood that you said that Mr. Miller here can present any information he wants, correct? Okay. And then we're not calling witnesses. Was there a board meeting and is there some agenda here that can show me a vote that there was a decision not to have any witnesses here?
There is not.
Okay. Is that your decision or somebody else's?
That was not. That was a decision that was made between legal counsel and the board.
Okay. And I noticed here that before we had this hearing here, there was a closed session. Is that correct?
You saw there was a closed session, yes.
Okay. And in that closed session, I understood that there was the attorney for the board, that's yourself, the board, and the superintendent. Isn't that right?
I am not going to entertain questions regarding a prior meeting. If you have questions related to the procedures that we will be following this evening, I'm happy to entertain those questions.
Well, is that where the decision that we couldn't hold any witnesses, is that where that decision was made?
It was not Attorney Hitchcock-Cross, and you and I spoke before the meeting even started, and you asked me what the procedure we would be following would be this evening, and I explained to you the procedure as I just laid out for everyone here in attendance tonight.
Oh, well, that's not the way I recall it. But thank you for sharing that. What I understood, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, was that we were going to have an evidentiary hearing. I understand that an evidentiary hearing is decided some time ago by the Attorney General, some years back. I think it's 70-something. It has been affirmed by the appeals court, so that's the law of the state of Wisconsin. I don't see anywhere in there that it says that we can't have witnesses or do cross-examination. I do see in there that it says that witnesses do not have to be under oath. Other than that, I would like to understand more about how you came to this conclusion that we can't have anybody other than myself or Mr. Miller speak.
This is the process that the board has determined will be followed tonight.
Oh, okay. And is the board aware that we have numerous people who are here for the sole purpose of speaking on Mr. Miller's behalf and giving evidence tonight?
I don't know if the board is aware of that.
Oh, okay. Is the
I mean,
board...
there's people here.
That's right.
There's people in attendance. I have no idea what their motives are in attending here this evening.
Okay. So, even with all that, I guess the question is how is Mr. Miller here supposed to put on a full and complete defense of what's going on if he can't use any other witnesses than himself?
Mr. Miller will have an opportunity to present evidence to the board. He will not have an opportunity to present witnesses. There will be no cross-examination here this evening. I believe I have explained the procedures thoroughly. If you have any questions regarding those procedures, please let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
I will now turn things over to Mr. Farner for his presentation of administration's evidence in support of its recommendation.
I do have one other question, if you may. Why are you all afraid to have this man undergo cross-examination?
I am not going to entertain that question. I am not the one who is here. That is the subject of this meeting. I have explained to you that the board has determined the procedures that will be utilized tonight. The reason for that is solely within the board's discretion as to choosing what procedures will be utilized to afford your client due process. Mr. Farner, I will turn things over to you.
Thank you. It's unfortunate that we're here this evening. When we met with Mr. Miller to review options where he could resign his position or actually even teach all of next year in the district, he indicated he would not resign and that we should go ahead and terminate him. That's why this meeting is necessary. We hope to avoid this altogether. The packets I just provided contain much of the documentation that I'll be referring to tonight. I'll quickly review just to make sure nobody missed anything, that any pages are missing, to make sure everyone knows what's in those, and then you'll probably want to refer back to the packet as I go through the presentation. The first document is the old contract, 2023-24 teacher contract, under which Mr. Miller was employed last year. That contract no longer exists. It expired as of June 30th. The next document is the 24-25 contract that he was issued earlier this spring. That is the contract that we would be recommending for termination. The next document is the job description for teachers for Arrowhead. This was provided to Mr. Miller when he received the notification of this meeting. You'll see highlighted and numbered examples where the expectations of the job were not met by Mr. Miller. The next document is the 7-11 policy, old district policy that was in place this spring, with highlights again showing different examples where Mr. Miller's conduct did not match up with policy. 7-18 policy is the next one, staff conduct, again highlights examples showing where his conduct did not meet policy expectations. Then we have the new non-renewal resignation termination policy that's recently been passed and approved for moving forward for our policies under Neola. This policy basically outlines the processes that the board has adopted for non-renewal or termination of the contract. The next document are some slides from a presentation that I gave to the staff in January of this year. I'll be referring back to those as examples where Mr. Miller did not follow those expectations. Then there's a summary of concerns from observations that were made of the classroom. The dates are provided and a summary at the bottom of that sheet, which I'll come back to. Then we have the email from Mr. Miller indicating that he requested this meeting be held in open session. There's the notification from Attorney Hamill to Mr. Miller and myself also about this meeting and how the meeting would be run. She also requested that Mr. Miller let us know if he would have any legal counsel, and he did not provide that information. And lastly is the actual notification for this meeting to Mr. Miller. So if you want to keep that document out, that last one, the multi-page letter, that's what I'll be referring to as I go through the explanations for why we're here this evening. Mr. Miller's been employed as a fire teacher at Arrowhead High School since 2005-2006. So he's recently completed his 19th year with the district. If you go to the notification letter, about halfway down the page, I'll just read this for the record. On April 17th, 2024, a student came to the office and reported to a staff member that she was being bullied in her class. When asked if the teacher would have seen the bullying...
Excuse me, did he just identify pupil by his last name?
I did not.
Thank you.
On April 17th, the student came to the office and said that they were being bullied in class. When the student was asked if the teacher would have seen the bullying or could help with it, the student said Mr. Miller would not know, he's too busy working out in class. As a result of that statement, the administration reviewed a recording of the classroom in the weight room where the class takes place to see if any bullying or concerning interactions with the student were evident. While looking for evidence of bullying, it was noticed that Mr. Miller was basically working out the entire class period. There was virtually no instruction taking place, no interaction with students. The students were just standing around talking to each other at various stations. The students were not engaged in learning in any way. Ms. Hemmer, if you could push the power button on that screen next to you, and Mr. Cook, if you can hit play for me. So this is the video that we reviewed that day after the student's concern. Mr. Miller is very far back in the blue shirt, walking toward the class. Just step back. I think that might be where this attendance computer is. And you can see Mr. Miller proceeds to start working out while students are pretty much standing around. The one special education student has a team working out. Again, no instruction taking place, no direction taking place.
Is there volume on this?
No.
There's no audio.
Are you watching a student work out right there?
They're all working out at different stations.
Instruction was probably given in the, before.
I would ask if members of the audience could please keep voices down. Thank you.
It's a public speak.
Isn't this a
Yes.
I didn't find this real quick.
Checking on the students downstairs.
Yep.
Could someone explain this while we're watching?
It unfortunately takes a long time when you watch an entire class period to see what's happening.
Well, you can't just take
That's what we're
steps.
doing.
Again, I would ask that the audience please refrain from speaking. While this is a public meeting that you are able to attend and to observe, it does not provide the public a right to comment and speak during the portion of the meeting in which the board is conducting.
Show mine, but those are minors.
It's,
So you can see numerous
Chrissy,
students are just
Chrissy,
sitting there, not
Chrissy,
doing anything.
you can
not
see
taking
minors'
interaction with
faces in this
students.
video here.
Which is normal.
Sure.
Okay,
Taking a break in the station.
that's problematic for me, but if it's not problematic for you, okay.
Not a lot of working out happening.
Maybe they were told to rest.
But you can't hear her.
Was Coach Miller approached about this and talked to?
Again, I'm going to ask that
No, he
members who are in the audience refrain from speaking. You do not have the right to ask questions during the meeting or for the participants of the meeting to respond.
We can
Thank
ask
you.
a question, no one has to answer us if we don't like to, but we can speak. Yeah. It's a public meeting, you cannot tell us we can't speak.
In fact, sir, it's our public meeting. You have the right to be here. You do not have the right to
But
speak.
you're not telling us anything. You're hiding things. You don't record it. You don't encourage us to be involved.
So again, students are standing around.
Which is normal.
This is not considered acceptable behavior. If you watch other classes with other teachers, the students are all working out diligently throughout the entire class period.
Do you have any of those tapes?
Not with us this evening.
100% of the time, every day.
Mm-hmm. This is what they got.
It is extremely unbelievable that we can see students standing around this long doing no work.
It's extremely unbelievable. Again, I am going to ask the members of the public to please refrain from speaking.
I think they said no.
Board members should continue to observe how much student working out is taking place. Students on the floor and the foreground, there are special education students with an aide working with them.
There's all those kids in the back, right?
Who's the girl that's supposed to be getting bullied?
In the foreground, or in the background, there's a bunch of kids on that.
So you can't see that section where you can only see half the way. There's also a corner on there.
Because I haven't seen you in like
Yes,
5
the board
minutes.
again to notice how much interaction is taking place between the instructor and the students.
Oh, look, the special ed kids are resting out too. Kids get their best, huh?
What if he's verbally instructing them?
This goes on for quite a while. I guess I would ask the school board members how much more do you want to watch, or would you like us to fast forward to other classes? It's really at the pleasure of the board.
How many videos like this do you have?
We have at least 9. I think we've decided that that was enough.
Is it possible to hit play and fast forward at the same time so we can kind of later in the period?
Are you able to go faster? 2x or 3x?
I go next to the kids and try to.
Two students that were sitting, standing, talking, moved away when Mr. Miller came to start working out by them. Continue to not be working out.
Like you tried to instruct. I see an awful lot of movement. I'd ask the board to witness that. Sometimes you're making a decision on this.
Most of the students that you see on the machines are goofing around. Those are not appropriate lifting techniques that they're using. The instructor isn't modifying them at all.
You can
Just
tell
letting
that,
them
huh?
goof around on the machines.
This is crazy. This is crazy.
Mr. Miller continued to work out, walked right by all the students that weren't doing anything appropriate on the machines.
Looks like he's leading by example.
action. It doesn't look like anyone's following his example whatsoever.
But you don't know what he's saying.
But they all just followed him, literally.
Can I ask a question? Do we have the ability to clear the room if this continues?
We do have the ability
In fact,
to.
for some of
And
our-
and
Why
guys
is
will
it
be
great?
here. And it's disrupting the ability of the board to conduct board
I do
business.
apologize for
and
people that are
after
talking, I'm
the-
being disrespectful, but I prefer to stay. I've been quiet, and I will remain quiet, because I would like to be a part of these proceedings and know what goes on.
I have asked audience members several times, as you have witnessed, to please refrain from speaking, and audience continues to speak, continues to blurt out questions, blurt out comments. And so you do, as a board, if they continue to disrupt board business, have the ability to
Where is
have
that-
those who
is
are
that written
disrupting
somewhere?
board business.
In
to-
fact, it is board policy. It's discretionary and in fact.
Board policy.
It is board policy.
Can you
that-
pause this for a
that
second?
Board policy to include.
Excuse me, it is board policy
And
that it
you
is.
want
it
our
is-
money
it is-
for referendum.
Excuse me. It is
You want
board
our money for the
policy that
referendum.
The
You
president
can't even
of the
be
school
upfront
board
of
can
what
at
is
any
going
time,
on.
based on interruption from audience members, can
'Cause
clear
you're
the room.
hiding things.
And
Mhm.
if you intend to continue, then it is what will happen.
You're
I
hiding
encourage you,
things.
for the sake of your colleagues who want to be here silently, I encourage the rest of you to maintain your silence.
Don't ruin it for the rest
No.
of them.
What?
Be quiet.
You're talking to me?
He shouldn't be talking to anybody in here.
No.
Okay, well, you're gonna ruin it for everybody else.
For the sake of Jeremy, let's just try to be quiet so that I know he wants us all here and he wants the support.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
Yeah, thank you so much.
Young students standing around, sitting, only the instructor working out. This is not normal. It sometimes looks like there's some phones, it's hard to tell, but it definitely looks like some students are using their phones at times. There's other cases where it's clear that they are. This one it's not 100% clear.
What is the time lapse at this point from the start of the?
I'm sorry, I can't see the numbers. Jackie or Adam, do you have a sense?
About 40. He didn't say what date, did he?
So if you were to walk around the school at other classrooms in the building at this time, you would see students engaged in learning, you'd see teachers teaching, you'd see students being guided, you would see good instruction going on throughout the building. You would not see students just sitting around with no instruction whatsoever.
What class is this? It was in the 4-credit class.
Didn't you just tell the kids to, didn't you just do that?
Yeah.
And then didn't they just do what you told them to do?